Hi everybody, welcome to another App Developer Conversations. I'm Ian Sefferman, CEO of Mobile Dev HQ. Got Roby Ganguly of Aptenev and Ryan Morell of PlacePlay here.
After Roby's intro, I thought you were going to get your name wrong.
I almost got my name wrong.
Excuse me. What were you going to call yourself?
I don't know. I started with C, so maybe I was just going straight to I'm CEO. I don't know.
All right. This is weird.
So today we're gonna talk a little bit about some stats that were shared and just sort of the bigness of mobile, right? And how it's a force that has started and just climb aboard and let that train go, right? So the first stat that we saw was there was a report on GigaOM about how mobile hardware is now going to be a $500 billion business by 2015. That's an incredible amount. One question that pops in my mind is who's going to be the winner there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, if we're going to pick one winner, it's probably from the share perspective, looks like Samsung. And if we're going to talk about profits, it's probably Apple. It seems to continue to be the story of the mobile hardware space. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same. And I would guess, I think the interesting question will be how much of that is a result of degradation of the traditional PC market, because they clearly include tablets in mobile. So do we start seeing people like Dell and HP and Toshiba, traditionally hardware manufacturers or PC manufacturers, move into the mobile market and try to do more with actual phones and then tablets? And whether or not that has a negative impact on their business, I would guess it would, because they've never been good at that stuff. So, I mean, I think it's clearly an Apple and Android world, with Samsung probably making up the biggest hardware share. So,
what percent is Apple at worldwide right now of devices?
I think it's
15?
like 20, 15, 20.
15 and 20 sounds about right.
Yeah. So do you guys think that they go up or down over the next 3 years?
I would say that I think they go up. I think they go up. They continue their trajectory, and part of the reason why is that their pricing strategy continues to be very strong at capturing the low end of the market over time. Right? They continue to be able to say an old device like an iPhone 4 is free, and consumers are like, that's 24-month-old hardware, and I'm fine with it. I don't care because it's an Apple device.
Yep. Yeah. That's something that really shocked me, actually.
Yeah.
I did not think that Apple would be able to take the low end, and they've really done a good job there.
Yeah, and it's hard to know. This is discounting any future products they may or may not have. Yep. Which I think the simple strategy that they've undertaken so far has clearly been the right one. But it wouldn't surprise me to see them try to be even more pervasive, especially when you're talking about third world, the BRIC countries, because that's where the biggest growth has to come from, right? The growth in the U.S. is kind of like, a lot of people have it already, so you got to find growth somewhere else.
So if you think that they're at, let's say they go to 25% market share, so a quarter, 500, so $125 billion business in mobile and hardware for Apple. Not bad.
Well, so I mean,
40% margins.
Not only that, like if we're going to extrapolate the pricing out, it's more likely that if they have 25% market share and the overall revenue is $500 billion, that they're making $200 billion or more of that from the revenue perspective.
Yeah, right.
Right. Like, yes, they are capturing the low end of the market, but the low end of the market is paying $0 for a device that the carrier is paying them $280 for, or something along those lines at the low end. So, damn.
I think the interesting thing here, and this is why I kind of had some questions about Amazon strategies. How much content will people really consume, and how much will they really pay for it? Because the challenge for hardware costs will always go down, right? Over time, we will see the cost of the iPhone go down. It's inevitable, and the hope for them will obviously be to make some of that up on content. But I don't know how, because I'm a big consumer of content, I assume you guys are too. I don't really pay for a whole lot of it.
Do you have cable?
Yeah,
How much do you pay for cable?
way too much. And I have an Apple TV because I'm getting rid of cable to use Hulu.
So this is my view, right? The average American, I think, watches over 4 hours of television a day right now.
Yeah.
Right? We're seeing more and more of that shifting to our digital consumption, and in particular our mobile devices. I think there's a huge appetite, right? That 4.5 hours turns into at least as much time through these devices. And then at the same time, that big piece of the budget, the cable expenditure, comes out and turns into discrete purchases, 99 cents here, $2.99 there, and still adds up to an obscene amount of $180 or something per month, right?
Yeah, maybe. That's my theory of what Apple's going to do with all their cash is buy content. Because I don't know how else they're going to do it.
So that actually does give us a good segue, which is that there was another research report out there that said mobile software revenue, app revenue, is now at a $30 billion by the end of 2012, which doubles 2011. So for app developers out there, then it actually sounds like being content is a really good thing, a really great place to be, right? That's a big market. This brings up sort of the, as you said, as more of the mind share goes to discrete purchases on mobile, my prediction is that 2016 sort of mobile revenue is $150 billion, something like that.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a massive market, right?
Yeah. I think that number feels really low to me.
The 30 or
30,
really?
yeah, and maybe even so. This was in Mary Meeker's presentation. In the U.S. alone, $57 billion a year is spent on television advertising. $35 billion is spent on print advertising in the U.S. alone every year. That's just the advertising percentage. So the whole ecosystem there, and it's a disproportionately small dollar amount given how much time people are spending, as you're talking about, to other forms of content consumption. It's crazy. So I think you're probably right that by 2016 that starts to switch, and we go, oh my God, there's a ton of ways to monetize that aren't being done now, or are in their infancy, and at some point those will just turn on.
Yep. And you saw that at Yahoo with ads, right? Where people started to come to the internet, right?
Yeah, well, so here's a common thing that people in the ad business do. They'll say, look at the amount of time spent in this new media. Oh, it's 25%, right? Like the common refrain at Yahoo was 25% of consumers' time is spent online, and only 6% of the ad budget is online. So of course that gap has to close. And the gap sort of is closing a little bit, but it's not keeping pace. In fact, I would say the online time spent is probably over 30% now, and we're seeing digital advertising spend is like 9 to 10%. But that's the rallying cry for everybody out there holding a bag, selling digital advertising. They're like, oh, this is a no-brainer. But the thing that's really fundamentally interesting about it is just how much bigger the market is every year than we anticipated the year before, especially the growth in mobile. It's like, well, people spent way more time on their devices than we thought they were going to. There's way more impressions than we thought there were going to be. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Well, I would guess so. I use that refrain all the time. But I think maybe one of the interesting things that we might see here, especially over the next 10 years, is the challenge has always been, especially with television and print, is that those things are locked in through relationships over a long period of time, where there's an ad agency that has a buyer, and that buyer works with these various different factors. I think there might be some questions about whether or not companies get savvy enough with doing their own digital purchases. They have their own creative teams, and there's enough simplicity in the market for people to just go make their own ad buys, right? And then then it's going to be all based on ROI. Like, is this working? And I would, at least for advertising, I fundamentally believe that like direct response advertising is fantastic for mobile. And I think we'll talk a little bit about the e-commerce stuff, but especially when you're talking about e-commerce.
Yeah, and so that gets into I don't think that this $30 billion includes e-commerce. There's another report out this week. I think IBM did it, where it was 15%. Was it 15% growth of mobile?
I think it was 15% of all total sales.
Of all total, I think that's right. Yeah. So 15% of all total sales for Black Friday through Cyber Monday essentially happened on mobile this year. With the leader, I think at 10%, they said 10% of those was an iPad.
Yeah.
So really, I think iPad has shown that that is a way for people to buy things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is the future of commerce mobile?
Yes. Yeah, if we call mobile tablets and phones, it's clearly like that's where people are.
Yeah.
And it's convenient, and you're on your couch, and away you go.
Yeah. And I would potentially make the argument that the future of commerce isn't not only mobile, but the future of small box retail is mobile, right? And I mean, because we've seen this dramatic shift to Amazon eating the world and getting killed, but we're not that far away from mom and pop retailers from having the tools and the resources they need to engage with the people around them really quickly and really simply to give them the leg up that Amazon might not be able to get, right? So regardless of how convenient it is to buy something from Amazon, if I'm walking down the street and see an ad for something that I know I'm interested in, and it's in a store where I can go see it and I can go talk to the person, that's fucking awesome. That's what we've been waiting for the last 15 years, right? And we're not that far away. And the most important piece there will be the simplicity for someone at a small box retailer who's not digitally savvy to create those campaigns themselves, right? That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Lots of stats. I think the headline is mobile's crazy train. Get on board and ride it now. Right?
Choo choo.
Yeah. Well, and I think the big piece here, especially for developers, is, and this plays into both the way you guys do, right? Is user retention is going to be increasingly important, right?
Yep.
So great content comes first, but you need to be able to retain your users, because if you can keep them over long periods of time, when the market is 150 billion, that person will be shifting their digital spend, as you say, away from cable to you.
Yep.
So keep those users.
Yep. All right. Thanks so much. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment if you want to engage in the discussion. Thanks, and talk soon.
You got to ship your app in the next week, I would say. It's got to be ready, it's got to be submitted, and you got to be just viewing your window as closing, because review times, especially in iOS, are going to expand, and then they've already said